The grand banquet hall of the Celestia Fiv gleamed with iridescent light. Each beam refracted through crystalline chandeliers harvested from the ice moons of Proxima Centauri. Thousands of alien dignitaries lounged on anti-gravity cushions, their appendages, tentacles, claws, prehensile tails, gesturing animatedly as they discussed matters of galactic importance. Laughter echoed through the chamber, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and deep resonating bellows that made the very air vibrate. At the center of this revelry stood a small delegation of humans, their formal attire appearing dull and primitive compared to the bioluminescent garments of their hosts. The tallest among them, Ambassador Maya Liu, maintained a diplomatic smile despite the obvious mockery directed at her team. "They call that clothing." A Vroxian noble with azure scales whispered loudly to her companion, not bothering to activate her translator's privacy filter. "I've seen more sophisticated coverings on labor drones." The Galactan delegation, spherical beings with dozens of eye stalks protruding from their gelatinous bodies, quivered with barely contained amusement as the human envoys awkwardly navigated the banquet's exotic cuisine. Counselor Lysera, the Vroxian representative to the Galactic Council, raised her crystal goblet filled with liquid that shimmered and changed colors with her emotional state. Currently, it glowed a vibrant orange, the Vroxian color of superiority and condescension. "Esteemed members of the Council," her voice projected across the hall, instantly silencing the chatter. "Today we welcome the newest petitioners to our magnificent alliance, representatives from the third planet of the unremarkable star system they call Sol." She pronounced the word with deliberate imprecision, triggering another wave of laughter. Maya Liu stepped forward, her posture perfect, her expression serene despite the continued tittering from the assembled dignitaries. "On behalf of Earth and its colonies, we thank the Galactic Council for this invitation," she said, her voice carrying a strength that momentarily quieted the room. "We come seeking not charity, but partnership." This statement provoked outright howls of amusement from several delegations. A Xanthian ambassador, whose translucent body glowed with neural activity, actually collapsed into a puddle of mirth, his physical form temporarily destabilizing from the intensity of his reaction. Zorth III, a prominent Galactan merchant prince whose family controlled trade routes spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, floated forward. Unlike most of his kinsmen, he wore a ceremonial gravity harness studded with rare minerals, signifying his house's wealth. "Partnership," he burbled through his speech orifice, eye stalks swiveling to ensure everyone caught his witty rejoinder. "What could Earth possibly offer the Council? Your species has barely mastered interplanetary travel, while we traverse dimensional folds as easily as you cross a room." Maya's smile didn't falter. "Sometimes fresh perspectives can uncover overlooked opportunities." "Indeed," Counselor Lysera interjected, her scales shimmering with amusement. "Such charming optimism. In the spirit of galactic fellowship, the Council has prepared a small token of welcome." At her gesture, a holographic display materialized in the center of the banquet hall. It showed a desolate planetoid orbiting a dim red star, its surface scarred with impact craters and the ruins of what appeared to be an abandoned outpost. "Behold," Lysera announced grandly, "Outpost Sigma-12, formerly a mining installation of the Draxian conglomerate before the region's resources were depleted. We hereby bestow this modest holding to Earth as your first extraterrestrial territory recognized by the Council." The hall erupted in thunderous laughter. Even the typically stoic Ardenian delegation, crystalline entities who communicated through light pulses, flickered rapidly in their equivalent of raucous amusement. Ambassador Liu bowed deeply, surprising many with her apparent gratitude. "The people of Earth accept this generous gift. We shall make good use of it." "What use could there possibly be?" Zorth III chortled, his eye stalks vibrating with mirth. "The outpost was abandoned because it's worthless." Dr. Arun Patel, who stood slightly behind the ambassador, stepped forward at her subtle nod. The human scientist's dark eyes gleamed with intelligence as he studied the holographic representation. "May we access the outpost's schematics?" he asked mildly. Lysera waved a clawed hand dismissively. "By all means, there's nothing of value remaining." Dr. Patel connected his neural interface, a small device behind his ear that the aliens had previously mocked as primitive, to the Council's information network. As data flooded into his augmented consciousness, his lips curved into a smile that mirrored Ambassador Liu's knowing expression. "Thank you, Counselor," Liu said. "We'll take formal possession immediately." As the banquet continued, the human delegation huddled in a corner, speaking in hushed tones, while the rest of the attendees returned to their revelry, occasionally glancing at the Earthlings with renewed amusement. "Did you find what we suspected?" Liu whispered to Dr. Patel. He nodded, eyes bright with excitement. "The outpost contains a dormant terraforming core, cutting-edge Draction technology abandoned because they lacked the biological expertise to properly calibrate it. With our symbiont adaptations, we can reactivate it," Liu finished. "Perfect. Transmit the coordinates to command." Across the banquet hall, Counselor Lysera observed the humans with mild curiosity before turning back to her peers. "Such strange creatures," she remarked, "so earnest about their insignificant place in the cosmos." Zorth Thre bobbed in agreement, his business-minded eye stalks already seeking new opportunities elsewhere. "They'll learn soon enough. The galaxy has no place for species that cannot keep pace." Neither of them noticed the subtle signal Dr. Patel sent through his neural interface, nor the momentary flicker in the Celestia V's communication array as a coded message beamed toward Earth's hidden network of colonies. The joke, it seemed, had only just begun. The Galactic Council had existed for over 8 centuries, an alliance initially formed by 7 spacefaring species seeking to regulate trade and to prevent interstellar conflicts. Now, 30 distinct civilizations held seats on the Council, each controlling vast territories spanning multiple star systems. Their combined influence extended across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way, a hegemony of advanced technological societies that regarded themselves as the pinnacle of cosmic evolution. Earth had only gained the Council's attention 50 years earlier, when human exploration vessels ventured beyond their solar system using primitive warp technology. The initial contact had been cordial but condescending. Representatives from the Council had arrived in vessels that dwarfed Earth's most impressive spacecraft, bearing gifts of outdated technology that nevertheless advanced human science by decades. What the Council didn't realize, what Maya Liu and her team carefully concealed, was how humanity had thrived in the shadows of galactic politics. While official Earth representatives expressed humble gratitude for the Council's generosity, colonial expeditions had already established dozens of settlements in unclaimed star systems beyond the Council's surveillance network. These frontier outposts operated under a simple directive: remain invisible, build infrastructure, and prepare for humanity's eventual emergence onto the galactic stage. The most remarkable of these hidden assets were the quantum-locked habitats, massive space stations phased slightly out of conventional reality, rendering them undetectable to standard scanning methods. Within these secret enclaves, Earth scientists like Dr. Aaron Patel developed technologies that combined human biological innovation with reverse-engineered alien tech. The crown jewel of these developments was the Symbiont Network, a revolutionary system that paired enhanced human neural patterns with artificial intelligence, creating hybrid consciousness capable of managing complex systems with unprecedented efficiency. These bioengineered symbiotes could interface with and often improve alien technology, extracting capabilities that the original designers had never imagined. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, sprawling megacities housed billions in arcologies that reached toward the sky and burrowed deep underground. Resources were carefully managed through advanced recycling systems and matter conversion technology. allowing the planet to support its growing population while presenting an image of barely sustainable civilization to outside observers. This carefully constructed facade, Earth as a struggling newcomer to interstellar society, had been maintained through rigorous information control and strategic misdirection. Council observers who visited Earth saw only what humanity wanted them to see: crowded cities, pollution management struggles, and infrastructure that appeared impressive only by the standards of a young spacefaring species. The contrast between this fabricated image and the opulent excess of the Council's central worlds could not have been more stark. Where Earth presented utilitarian designs focused on function, Council species reveled in ostentatious displays of wealth and technological prowess. The Council chambers aboard the Celestia 5 exemplified this philosophy. Constructed from rare materials harvested from 1,000 worlds, the station orbited a manufactured star, a perfectly controlled fusion reaction suspended in a containment field. Council members traveled between sessions in personal vessels that rivaled small moons in size, attended by entourages of servants, advisors, and security forces. Such displays were meant to awe and intimidate newcomers, reinforcing the Council's position at the apex of galactic civilization. For most petitioning species, the strategy worked flawlessly. For humanity, it merely confirmed what Maya Liu and her superiors had long suspected. Beneath its magnificent exterior, the Galactic Council had grown complacent, wasteful, and blind to potential rivals. As the human delegation departed the banquet, boarding their deliberately modest shuttle, Ambassador Liu gazed out at the artificial star that powered the Celestia 5. To the Council, such technology represented the culmination of their achievements. To Liu, it was merely one step on a longer path, a path humanity was quietly blazing while the galaxy's elite congratulated themselves on their superiority. "Transmit the activation sequence to Outpost Sigma 12, she instructed Dr. Patel as the shuttle's airlock sealed behind them. "Let's show our new friends what humans can do with their cast-offs." Patel nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face as his fingers danced across the shuttle's control interface. "Sequence transmitted. The terraforming core will be operational within 12 hours. Lau settled into her seat as the shuttle disengaged from the Celestia V's docking bay. "And the beacon?" "Ready on your command," Patel confirmed. "Once activated, it will signal all Earth assets within 50 light-years to converge on the outpost." "Excellent!" Liu's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "The Council has given us exactly what we needed, a foothold recognized under galactic law. Now we'll show them exactly what that means." As their shuttle accelerated away from the Council's flagship, neither Liu nor her team looked back at the glittering spectacle of the Celestia 5. Their focus had already shifted to the next phase of humanity's emergence, a phase that would transform a cosmic joke into a seismic shift in the balance of galactic power. Ambassador Maya Liu had risen through Earth's diplomatic corps through a combination of brilliant strategic thinking and an uncanny ability to read alien psychology. At 42, she possessed the calm confidence of someone who had spent decades preparing for this precise moment in history. Her shoulder-length black hair was streaked with silver. She had refused genetic treatments to remove the gray, believing it lent her additional gravitas in negotiations with long-lived alien species. Born in the Pacific Northwest arcology, Liu had witnessed firsthand how humanity transformed crisis into opportunity. The coastal megastructure had been constructed in response to rising sea levels, becoming not just a refuge, but a thriving center of innovation. This experience shaped her core philosophy. Adaptation was humanity's greatest strength. As she stood on the bridge of the diplomatic shuttle, watching the stars streak by in the distorted geometry of warp space, Liu mentally reviewed the complex game she was playing. The Council's gift had been calculated to humiliate, but they had unwittingly handed her the key to executing a plan decades in the making. "Ambassador," called a communications officer, "we're receiving a priority message from Dr. Patel. He's already aboard Sigma 12. Liu nodded. Patel had transferred to a faster vessel immediately after the banquet, racing ahead to prepare the outpost while she maintained diplomatic appearances. "Put him through." The view screen flickered, revealing Dr. Arun Patel's face, his expression alight with excitement. Behind him, Liu could see figures in environmental suits moving purposefully through what appeared to be a control center thick with dust. "Maya," he said, dispensing with formality as he always did when making breakthroughs. "It's better than we hoped. The terraforming core is Draxion Mark 7, their most advanced model. They abandoned it because they couldn't properly interface with the biological components." Liu leaned forward. "But you can." Patel's grin widened. "Already have. I've integrated 3 symbiont pairs with the core's control systems. The outpost is coming back online system by system. Within 24 hours, we'll have full functionality. And the planetoid's surface? We've deployed the first wave of atmospheric generators. Given the composition of the substrate, we should see a breathable atmosphere within a week and initial vegetation within a month." Patel's eyes gleamed. "But that's not the best part. The outpost's deep scanners are operational, and they've detected something the Draxians missed, a massive deposit of quantum-resonant crystals beneath the surface." Liu drew in a sharp breath. Such crystals were essential components in advanced communication systems, allowing for instantaneous information transfer across vast distances. They were also incredibly rare and controlled almost exclusively by the Ardenian Collective, one of the Council's founding members. "How extensive is the deposit?" she asked. "Preliminary scans suggest it's the largest single source in known space," Patel replied. "The Draxians never found it because it's encased in a shell of neutralizing minerals. Our symbiont-enhanced scanners detected the quantum fluctuations that their technology missed." Liu felt a surge of satisfaction. This changed everything. Not only did they have a legally recognized outpost, but they now controlled a resource the Council desperately needed. "Perfect. Accelerate the development timeline. I want visible transformation by the time the Council sends their first inspection team." She paused, considering her next move. "Activate the beacon, Arun. It's time to bring our people home." Patel nodded solemnly, understanding the significance of the order. With a few commands, he activated a subspace transmitter unlike any the Council races had developed. The signal it sent out wasn't detectable by conventional means. It propagated through the quantum substrate of space itself, reaching ships, stations, and colonies that officially didn't exist. Within moments, vessels hidden throughout the outer rim began changing course. Mining syndicates operating in asteroid belts beyond Council space prepared their equipment for transport. Scientific enclaves researching technologies the Council would find alarming initiated shutdown protocols, preparing to relocate to Sigma-12. The gathering had begun. Across the bridge from Ambassador Liu stood the 4th member of Earth's core diplomatic team, Security Director Eliana Reyes, a former Special Forces commander whose augmented physiology was disguised beneath a standard diplomatic uniform. Her enhanced eyes constantly scanned for threats, while implanted sensors monitored the quantum frequencies Earth used for secure communications. "The beacon is active," she reported quietly. "First responses are already coming in. We'll have a fleet of 63 vessels at Sigma-12 within 72 hours. Liu nodded, maintaining her composed expression despite the excitement building within her. "And the Council?" "Still oblivious," Reyes confirmed. "Their monitoring stations registered our departure from the Celestia V, but they've paid no attention to our subsequent course. As far as they're concerned, we're simply returning to Earth to report our diplomatic failure." "Excellent." Liu turned to the final member of her inner circle, economics attaché Victor Okafor, whose brilliant mind had mapped the vulnerabilities in the Council's trade networks for over a decade. "Victor, prepare the proposals. When the Council realizes what we've found, I want our terms ready." Okafor nodded, his fingers already dancing across a data pad. "The leverage calculation has shifted significantly with the crystal discovery. I'll recalibrate our opening positions accordingly." As her team executed their assignments, Liu gazed out at the stars rushing past the view screen. For decades, humanity had prepared for this moment, the transition from hiding their strength to revealing it in a manner that would force the Council to recognize Earth as an equal, not a curiosity. Meanwhile, aboard the Celestia 5, Counselor Lysera lounged in her private chambers, the walls adorned with trophies from 100 worlds. Her scales shimmered with contentment as she reviewed reports from her various holdings throughout Vroxian space. A soft chime announced a visitor, and the chamber's entrance irised open to admit Zorth III, the Galactan merchant prince. His eye stalks swiveled in the Galactan equivalent of a formal greeting. "Counselor," he burbled pleasantly, "I trust you found today's entertainment satisfying." Lysera's scales flickered with amusement. "Quite. The humans' attempts to maintain dignity while being openly mocked were almost admirable. Did you see their faces when we presented that worthless outpost?" "Indeed," Zorth replied, several of his eye stalks curling in mirth. "Though I must admit, Ambassador Liu's reaction was not quite what I expected, almost as if she welcomed the gift. A diplomatic facade," Lysera dismissed with a wave of her clawed hand. "What else could she do but pretend gratitude? The outpost is a ruin orbiting a dying star in an uninhabited system. Even the mineral deposits were exhausted centuries ago." Zorth bobbed in agreement, but two of his business-oriented eye stalks remained rigid, a Galactan expression of mild concern. "True, yet I've found humans to be unpredictable in their resource utilization. My trading vessels report that they've accomplished remarkable efficiencies with technologies we deemed obsolete." Lysera's scales darkened slightly, a sign of irritation. "You worry too much. Zorth, the humans are barely more than clever animals. They'll spend decades trying to restore that outpost to minimal functionality, and by then, the Council will have forgotten they exist." "Perhaps," Zorth conceded, his gelatinous body pulsing thoughtfully. "Still, I've instructed one of my automated monitoring vessels to observe Sigma 12. A simple precaution." "As you wish," Lysera said dismissively. "Now, shall we discuss the upcoming vote on tariff regulations for the Cygnus arm? I believe your house stands to benefit substantially from my proposed amendments." As the two council members turned to matters they considered important, neither suspected that the humans they had so casually dismissed were already setting in motion events that would soon command their full attention and fundamentally alter the power structure they took for granted. 7 days after the banquet aboard the Celestia 5, Zorth III received an urgent communication from his automated monitoring vessel. The message was flagged with the highest priority, interrupting a profitable negotiation with Arcturian silk merchants. "This had better be important," he muttered, directing his attention stalks toward the incoming transmission. The screen displayed a live feed from Sigma 12, and what Zorth saw caused his eye stalks to stiffen in shock. The formerly barren planetoid was now surrounded by a thin but visible atmosphere, shimmering with the characteristic blue glow of terraforming energy fields. The abandoned outpost, previously a collection of decaying structures, now pulsed with light and activity. Most alarming of all, Zorth could clearly identify dozens of vessels in orbit around the planetoid, vessels that bore no official Earth markings but were undeniably of human design. Some appeared to be mining ships, others research stations temporarily converted for transport. Together, they formed a makeshift fleet that had seemingly materialized from nowhere. Zorth's body darkened with alarm as he accessed his vessel's sensor data. The readings confirmed what his eyes told him. In a single week, the humans had not only reactivated the outpost, but begun a full-scale terraforming operation. The planetoid's core temperature was rising, its barren surface already showing patches of engineered lichen, the first stage in atmospheric generation. "Impossible," Zorth whispered, his speech orifice pulsating with agitation. With growing unease, he directed his monitoring vessel to conduct a deep scan of the outpost itself. The results were even more disturbing. Energy readings indicated technology far more advanced than what Earth had demonstrated in official exchanges. Most concerning was a power signature that matched no known configuration in the Council's extensive database. Zorth hesitated only briefly before opening a secure channel to Counselor Lysera. When her image appeared on his screen, her scales were flushed with the purple hue of interrupted pleasure. "This had better be urgent. Merchant Prince," she hissed, clearly displeased by the intrusion. "See for yourself," Zorth replied, transmitting the live feed from Sigma-12. Lysera's scales instantly paled to a shocked white as she processed what she was seeing. How is this possible? The outpost was derelict, the planetoid incapable of supporting life. "Evidently, the humans possess capabilities we were unaware of," Zorth said, his tone modulated to convey serious concern. "My vessel detected energy signatures consistent with advanced symbiotic technologies, something even the Xanthians haven't mastered." Lysera's eyes narrowed. "Symbiotic tech? That's prohibited in Council space without special dispensation. The regulation risks alone would—" She stopped abruptly as a new realization struck her. "Where did these ships come from? Earth doesn't have a fleet of this size." "Unknown," Zorth admitted. "But my analysis suggests many are converted mining and research vessels. They appear to have been operating independently for some time." "Hidden colonies," Lysera whispered, her scales now shifting to an alarmed crimson. "They've been establishing unauthorized outposts beyond our surveillance network." Before Zorth could respond, his communication system chimed with another incoming transmission, this one bearing the official diplomatic signature of Earth's embassy to the Council. "It seems," Zorth said dryly, "that Ambassador Liu wishes to speak with us." When Maya Liu's image appeared on their screens, both council members were struck by the subtle shift in her demeanor. Gone was the deferential posture of a petitioning species representative. She stood straight, her expression confident, almost amused. "Counselor Lysera, Merchant Prince Zorth." She greeted them with a slight bow. "I trust you've been monitoring our progress at Outpost Sigma-12. We're quite pleased with the initial results." "What is the meaning of this?" Lysera demanded, her scales now pulsing between crimson and yellow, anger and caution. "The Council granted you a defunct outpost as a symbolic gesture, not permission to deploy a fleet and initiate unauthorized terraforming." Liu's smile widened fractionally. "The terms of the gift included no restrictions on development or utilization. We're simply making efficient use of the Council's generous offering." "Those vessels," Zorth interjected, several eye stalks pointing accusingly at the feed still running beside Liu's image. "They are not registered with the Council. Their presence constitutes a violation of Treaty Statute 25-7. "Ah," Liu replied smoothly. "But Statute 25.7 applies only to Council space, as you'll recall from your own legal codex. Once ownership of Sigma-12 was transferred to Earth, the surrounding system became human territory under galactic law. Our vessels are operating within our own sovereign space." Lysera's scales darkened further. "This interpretation will be contested in the full Council." "Of course," Liu agreed pleasantly. "We welcome the opportunity to discuss this matter, and several others, with the assembled Council. In fact, I prepared a formal request for an emergency session." "On what grounds?" Lysera demanded. "Resource allocation and trade negotiation," Liu replied. "You see, our outpost has discovered something rather valuable." She paused, clearly enjoying the moment. "A deposit of quantum-resonant crystals, the largest ever recorded." The effect of this statement was immediate and dramatic. Zorth's body paled to a translucent white, while Lysera's scales froze in a mottled pattern of shock. "Impossible," Lysera breathed. "The Draxians conducted thorough surveys before abandoning the outpost. There were no valuable resources remaining. Their scanning technology had limitations," Liu explained. Fortunately, our methods detected what they missed. We've already extracted enough crystals to supply our needs for the foreseeable future, but we recognize the value this resource holds for the wider galactic community. Zorth, ever the merchant, recovered first. You're proposing a trade agreement. A series of agreements, Liu corrected. The crystals are merely the beginning. Earth has developed several technologies that may interest the Council, particularly in the fields of bioengineering and symbiotic interfaces. Such technologies are heavily regulated, Lysera said stiffly. In Council space, Liu agreed. But as we've established, Sigma-12 is now Earth territory. We're prepared to share our innovations, but as equal partners, not supplicants. The implication was clear. Earth was leveraging its newfound resource to force a reconsideration of its status within galactic society. The Council will not be coerced, Lysera declared, though her tone lacked conviction. Not coercion. Counselor, opportunity. Liu's expression remained pleasant but determined. We've prepared a detailed proposal outlining mutually beneficial arrangements. I've taken the liberty of transmitting copies to both of you, as representatives of two of the Council's most influential factions. As data packets arrived in their respective systems, both Council members found themselves confronted with a meticulously crafted document that outlined trade terms so favorable that rejecting them would be politically untenable within their own power blocks. This is most irregular, Zorth said, though several of his business-oriented eye stalks were already analyzing the potential profits. Perhaps, Liu acknowledged. But then, the galaxy is full of surprises. We look forward to the emergency session. Earth's delegation will arrive at the Celestia 5 within 48 hours. With that, Ambassador Liu terminated the transmission, leaving the two Council members staring at each other in stunned silence. They planned this, Lysera finally said, her scales settling into a troubled blue hue. From the beginning, they wanted that outpost. Yes, Zorth agreed, his gelatinous form pulsing with agitation. The question is, what else have they planned, and what else are they hiding? Neither had answers, but both recognized that the cosmic joke they had orchestrated at humanity's expense had somehow, inexplicably, backfired. The primitive newcomers they had dismissed were suddenly positioned to reshape galactic politics, and the full extent of their capabilities remained unknown. As the Celestia 5 prepared for an emergency council session, rumors spread rapidly through the diplomatic community. Species that had previously ignored Earth's representatives now sought private audiences. Trade guilds that had dismissed human markets as insignificant suddenly dispatched observers to Sigma-12. Intelligence agencies that had classified Earth as a minor power scrambled to reassess their evaluations. The galaxy's attention had shifted, and at the center of this storm of activity stood Ambassador Maya Liu and her team, executing the next phase of humanity's carefully orchestrated emergence from obscurity. The emergency session of the Galactic Council commenced with unprecedented attendance. All 30 member species were represented, along with dozens of observer nations and trade confederations. The chamber's tiered seating, normally spacious enough to accommodate the Council's formal proceedings, now strained to contain the surge of additional delegations clamoring to witness the unfolding drama. At the center of the chamber, Earth's delegation occupied the petitioner's platform, a position traditionally assigned to species seeking the Council's favor. Ambassador Liu, however, had transformed this symbolically subordinate space into a position of strength. Behind her stood Dr. Arun Patel and a team of Earth's foremost scientific minds, each connected to data interfaces that displayed scrolling information incomprehensible to most observers. Security Director Reyes had positioned herself at the delegation's perimeter, her enhanced senses continuously scanning for threats. Economics Attaché Okafor sat at a console filled with market projections and resource valuations, occasionally sending updated figures to Liu's personal display. As the session formally began, High Counselor Threndock of the Aldebaran Concord, a being composed of interlocking energy fields maintained by an exoskeleton of rare metals, called for order. This emergency session has been convened at the request of Earth's delegation. The High Counselor's voice resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages. Ambassador Liu will present their petition. Liu stepped forward, her posture relaxed yet commanding. Esteemed council members, I thank you for convening on such short notice. Earth comes before you, not as a petitioner, but as a neighbor bearing both news and opportunities. A murmur ran through the assembly at this subtle rejection of the traditional supplicant role. As many of you are now aware, Liu continued, the outpost graciously gifted to Earth by the Council has yielded unexpected discoveries. Most significantly, we have located and begun extraction of the largest known deposit of quantum-resonant crystals in the galaxy. The murmur grew louder. Counselor Lysera's scales shifted to a deep blue of concern as she leaned forward. Furthermore, Liu went on, Earth has successfully reactivated and enhanced the abandoned terraforming core, demonstrating our species' particular aptitude for symbiotic technologies we are prepared to share with our galactic neighbors under appropriate trade agreements. At this, Dr. Patel activated a holographic display showing the transformation of Sigma-12. Images captured over the past week revealed an astonishing progression, from barren rock to a planetoid now sprouting basic vegetation, its atmosphere visibly thickening with each passing day. Most council species require decades to achieve what you've accomplished in days, remarked Counselor Zavan of the Arcturian hegemony, their crystalline form refracting light as they shifted position. How is this possible? Liu nodded to Dr. Patel, who stepped forward to address the council directly. The key lies in our symbiont technology, he explained, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of scientific certainty. Earth has developed a method of pairing enhanced human neural patterns with artificial intelligence, creating hybrid consciousness capable of interfacing with complex systems at unprecedented levels of efficiency. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a diagram of the symbiont interface. Human operators connected to machinery through neural links that pulsed with activity. The terraforming core at Sigma-12 was abandoned because conventional AI couldn't properly calibrate its biological components. Patel continued, our symbionts don't merely operate the technology, they communicate with it, adapt to it, improve it. Counselor Lysera's scales flickered with skepticism. You expect us to believe that a species with barely a century of spaceflight has mastered technologies that the Council's founding races spent millennia developing? Not mastered. Counselor, Patel corrected gently. Approached differently. Where most Council species focused on creating increasingly sophisticated artificial intelligence, humanity explored the integration of organic and synthetic cognition, different paths, different results. Before Lysera could respond, Zorth the Thra intervened, his business instincts overriding political concerns. The practical applications are what matter, the Galactan merchant prince declared, eye stalks quivering with interest. Ambassador Liu, your proposal mentioned trade agreements. What specifically are you offering? Liu smiled, recognizing the opening. Earth proposes a three-tiered arrangement. First, regulated access to the quantum crystal deposits for all Council members, with preferential terms for founding species. Second, technology exchange programs focusing on symbiotic interfaces and bioengineering advances. Third, the establishment of joint research initiatives at Sigma-12 and other locations to be determined. Economics Attaché. Okafor stepped forward, displaying complex economic projections. Our analysis indicates these arrangements would increase efficiency across multiple sectors by an average of 27%, with particularly significant gains in energy production, communication networks, and medical applications. The chamber buzzed with excited discussion as council members consulted with advisors and economic experts. Liu allowed the conversation to flow, knowing that the most dramatic revelation was yet to come. After several minutes, High Counselor Threndok called for order. These proposals warrant serious consideration. However, before proceeding further, the Council requires verification of Earth's claims regarding the crystal deposits and symbiont technology. Of course, Liu agreed readily. We invite a delegation of Council scientists to visit Sigma-12 immediately. To facilitate transparency, we've prepared a secure quantum channel allowing real-time observation of our operations. At her gesture, Dr. Patel activated another holographic display, this one showing a live feed from the outpost. The assembled council members watched as human workers and symbiont pairs moved efficiently through the facility, extracting glittering crystals from newly exposed veins in the planetoid's crust. Most impressive, admitted Councillor Zavan. If these demonstrations prove accurate, the Council may indeed be interested in pursuing the agreements you've proposed. Liu exchanged a glance with Dr. Patel, who nodded slightly. The moment had arrived for their most significant revelation. There is one additional matter the Council should be aware of, Liu said, her voice measured but carrying clearly through the suddenly hushed chamber. In the course of our exploration beyond Council space, Earth has developed certain energy collection capabilities that may be relevant to our discussions. She nodded to Patel, who entered a series of commands into his interface. The central holographic display shifted to show a star, an unremarkable yellow dwarf similar to Earth's sun. Then the image zoomed out, revealing a vast lattice of interconnected structures surrounding the star in a partial sphere. This is the Prometheus array, Liu explained as gasps and exclamations echoed through the chamber. A hydrogen fusion Dyson net encircling the star we've designated Proxima Beta. The array captures approximately 22% of the star's total energy output, converting it directly to usable power. The display shifted again, now showing 5 similar arrays around 5 different stars. Earth currently operates 5 such arrays in systems beyond Council jurisdiction, Liu continued calmly, though her heart raced at the calculated risk she was taking. Together, they generate energy equivalent to roughly half the combined output of all Council fusion reactors. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members rose from their seats, shouting questions and accusations. Security forces moved closer to the central platform, only to be waved back by the High Counselor, who struggled to maintain order. Impossible! Lysera's voice cut through the tumult, her scales now a bright, alarmed crimson. Dyson technology has been theorized, but never successfully implemented. The engineering challenges alone were substantial, Liu agreed, but not insurmountable, particularly with symbiont-enhanced construction methods. The first array took nearly 15 years to complete. The fifth was finished in under 3. The implications were staggering. Dyson technology represented energy production on a scale that dwarfed conventional methods. A species controlling 5 such arrays possessed power generation capabilities that rivaled the combined output of dozens of advanced civilizations. As the Council struggled to process this revelation, Zorth III floated forward, his gelatinous body now a pale, worried yellow. "These arrays," he said, his voice uncharacteristically subdued, "they are located where, precisely?" Liu's expression remained diplomatically neutral. "In unclaimed systems approximately 30 light-years from Sigma-12, well outside Council space, but conveniently positioned for distribution to neighboring regions, including Council territories, should mutually beneficial arrangements be reached." The strategic brilliance of Earth's position was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. They had revealed control of a resource the Council desperately needed, quantum crystals, while simultaneously demonstrating energy production capabilities that could render traditional fusion reactors obsolete. And they had done so from a legally recognized position within Council jurisdiction, making military intervention problematic at best. High Counselor Threndok's energy fields pulsed with agitation as they called for a recess. "The Council must confer privately regarding these unexpected developments," Ambassador Liu, your delegation will remain available for questions. As the council members withdrew to a secure chamber for emergency consultations, Liu turned to her team. Phase 1 complete, she murmured. Prepare for the counter-offers and threats. They'll try both. Dr. Patel nodded, his eyes gleaming with suppressed excitement. The Vroxians looked ready to molt their scales in shock. Did you see Lysera's face when the Dyson nets appeared? It's not over yet, Security Director Reyes cautioned, her enhanced senses detecting increased activity among the Council's security forces. Lysera was speaking with her military attaché during the recess announcement. They won't accept this situation without a fight. Liu's expression hardened slightly. They may fight if they choose, but the arrays are beyond their reach, and Sigma-12 is legally ours. They have no grounds for military action without fracturing their own laws. Laws can be reinterpreted, Okafor pointed out quietly. We should prepare for the possibility that certain council factions may attempt to retroactively invalidate the gift of Sigma-12. Let them try, Liu replied. We've already transmitted the original transaction documents to every member species and observer nation. Any attempt to rewrite history now would undermine the Council's credibility throughout the galaxy. As they spoke, the delegation's communication array chimed with multiple incoming requests, private messages from individual council members seeking separate audiences with Earth's representatives. The power blocks that had defined galactic politics for centuries were already beginning to fracture as opportunistic species sought advantage in the new reality. Aboard the Celestia 5, the Council's private chamber had become a battleground of competing interests and barely contained panic. Councillor Lysera stood at the center of the storm, her scales shifting rapidly between colors as she addressed her peers. "This cannot stand," she declared, claws extended in the Vroxian gesture of martial intent. "These humans have deceived us, operating hidden colonies and constructing forbidden technology while pretending to be primitive newcomers. They broke no laws," countered Councillor Zavan of the Arcturian hegemony, their crystalline form pulsing with logical precision. "Unconventional, certainly. Deceptive, perhaps. But illegal? No. The Dyson arrays were constructed beyond our jurisdiction," added another council member, a Tellurian collective consciousness housed in a hovering mechanical shell. "We have no authority there." "And the symbiont technology?" Lysera demanded. "Such integration of organic and synthetic intelligence clearly violates the prohibition of consciousness manipulation." "Only within council space," Zorth 3 reminded her. Several of his eye stalks now focused on economic projections scrolling across his personal display. "And only if created without consent. From what we've observed, the human symbionts are voluntary participants." Lysera's scales darkened near black with fury. "Are you all blind? These humans now control resources that could destabilize the entire council. Half our energy supply could be rendered obsolete overnight." "Or supplemented," Zorth countered. "Their proposal includes energy-sharing agreements that would actually increase availability while reducing costs. My analysts project potential economic growth of 35% across all member worlds if these agreements are implemented." The debate continued, growing increasingly heated as council members aligned themselves with competing positions. Some, like Lysera, advocated for immediate containment of the human threat. Others, led by Zorth and the commercially oriented species, saw opportunity in Earth's emergence as a technological power. A third faction, primarily composed of the Council's scientific communities, expressed fascination with the symbiont technology and eagerly anticipated collaborative research. As the factional lines hardened, High Councillor Thren Dock observed the proceedings with growing concern. The energy fields comprising their consciousness fluctuated with complex calculations and projections. "Enough," they finally declared, their resonant voice cutting through the arguments. "The reality before us is clear. Earth now possesses resources and technology that make them a significant power, regardless of our wishes. The question is not whether we acknowledge this fact, but how we respond to it. With strength, Lysera insisted. My fleet stands ready to secure Sigma-12 and its crystal deposits for the Council. An act of war, Zorth objected, his form darkening with alarm. Against a species that controls enough energy to power half the galaxy. Have you lost all sense? Not war, Lysera corrected, her scales shimmering with deadly purpose. A police action to secure restricted technology and resources. The humans have overplayed their hand by revealing the Dyson arrays. They've frightened half the Council into considering capitulation. And what if they resist? Asked Zavan. What if your police action triggers a response from those arrays? Are you prepared to risk billions of lives to preserve your pride? Counselor? Before Lysera could respond, a communication chime interrupted the proceedings. A junior aide appeared on a floating display, their expression anxious. High Counselor, we're receiving reports of unusual activity throughout Council space. Multiple trading houses are reporting pressure to accept new terms from Earth-affiliated entities. Several key quantum communication relays have experienced transfers. Explain, demanded Threndok. Financial transactions. High Counselor? Earth-based consortiums have purchased controlling interests in critical infrastructure across 17 systems. All transactions appear legal under Council commerce regulations. Zorth's eye stalks went rigid with shock. They're buying our communication network. How? They shouldn't have the resources. The crystals, Zavan interjected, their crystalline form pulsing with sudden understanding. They've been extracting them longer than they admitted. The market value of even a small quantity would be sufficient to finance such acquisitions. Lysera's scales had paled to an ashen gray. This is no longer negotiation. It's conquest by economic means. For once, no one disagreed with her assessment. The humans had executed a masterful strategy, revealing military strength through the Dyson arrays while simultaneously securing critical infrastructure through perfectly legal financial maneuvers. We must reconvene the full council, Threndok decided. Ambassador Liu has outmaneuvered us at every turn. Perhaps together we can find a path forward that preserves both peace and the council's influence. As the council members filed out of the private chamber, Lysera lingered behind, activating a secure communication channel to her fleet commander. Prepare the armada, she instructed, her voice low and determined. The council debates while humans seize control of our civilization. Someone must act decisively. The commander's image flickered with static, unusual for the Celestia V's normally flawless communication system. Counselor, we're detecting unusual activity near the fleet staging area. Multiple vessels of unknown configuration have taken position at the system's edge. Human ships? Lysera demanded. Unknown. Counselor, they match no registry in our database, but their energy signatures suggest advanced propulsion systems. They're maintaining position, not approaching, but effectively blocking our departure vector. Lysera's scales darkened further. Find another route. The fleet departs in 12 hours, regardless of the Council's decision. As she terminated the communication, Lysera was unaware that her supposedly secure channel had been compromised. Every word had been monitored by Security Director Reyes, whose enhanced senses had detected and decrypted the transmission despite its sophisticated encryption. In Earth's delegation chamber, Reyes reported the conversation to Ambassador Liu, who nodded grimly. As expected, Liu said. Alert our defensive assets to prepare for possible engagement, but maintain absolutely non-aggressive postures. We will not fire first under any circumstances. As the hours passed and the Council remained deadlocked in increasingly fractious debate, the situation throughout galactic society grew more unstable. Markets fluctuated wildly as rumors spread about Earth's capabilities and intentions. Military vessels from multiple species altered patrol routes to monitor human activities. Diplomatic channels overflowed with demands for information and clarification. At the center of this storm, Maya Liu remained calm. directing Earth's response with the precision of a conductor leading a complex symphony. Each revelation, each acquisition, each deployment of assets had been planned years in advance. A strategy designed to transform humanity's position in the galaxy without firing a single shot. But as Lysera's fleet secretly prepared for confrontation, the question remained whether this bloodless revolution could remain peaceful to its conclusion. 48 hours after the emergency session began, the Galactic Council remained divided. 3 distinct factions had emerged, those supporting accommodation with Earth, those advocating for containment, and a growing bloc of pragmatists seeking middle ground. As debate continued in the main chamber, Liu received an urgent message from one of Earth's monitoring stations near Sigma-12. Vroxian vessels are moving into attack formation, Security Director Reyes reported, her enhanced vision scanning tactical displays. Lysera is acting independently of the Council's authority. Liu's expression hardened. How many ships? 27 capital vessels, approximately 100 support craft, a significant portion of the Vroxian fleet, but not their entire force. She's keeping some in reserve, Liu noted. Sensible, if misguided. She turned to Dr. Patel. Activate Defense Protocol Aegis, non-lethal countermeasures only. Patel nodded, connecting to a secure quantum channel that linked directly to Earth's hidden network of defensive systems. Throughout the sector surrounding Sigma-12, automated platforms that had remained dormant now hummed to life. Their presence finally revealed as energy shields flickered into existence. Simultaneously, the Dyson arrays that Earth had unveiled began channeling power through subspace conduits, reinforcing the defenses around the outpost and other human holdings. The deployment was deliberate and visible, a clear demonstration of capability without direct threat. The Vroxian fleet has detected our countermeasures, Reyes reported. They're maintaining course, but have activated weapon systems. Liu took a deep breath, weighing her options. The situation was developing exactly as their simulations had predicted, but the next few moments would determine whether humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage would be marked by diplomacy or bloodshed. Open a channel to the Celestia V, she instructed. All frequencies, maximum distribution. I want every species on the station to hear what happens next. As communications officers established the connection, Liu straightened her uniform and composed her features into a mask of diplomatic calm. When the signal indicated she was broadcasting, she spoke with clear, measured tones. Attention, Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Maya Liu of Earth. Our monitoring systems have detected a Vroxian battle fleet approaching Sigma-12 with weapons active. This constitutes an unprovoked act of aggression against a legally recognized Earth territory. I formally request the Council's immediate intervention to prevent hostilities. Throughout the Celestia Phi, screens displayed her transmission, interrupting the ongoing debates. In the Council chamber, High Councillor Threndok's energy fields pulsed with alarm as they turned to Lysera's now empty seat. Locate Councillor Lysera immediately, they ordered, and open a channel to the Vroxian flagship. Back in the Earth delegation's chamber, Liu continued her broadcast, her voice never wavering. Earth has activated defensive measures to protect our outpost and personnel. These are non-lethal systems designed to disable rather than destroy incoming vessels. We have no desire for conflict and urge the Vroxian fleet to stand down. On the tactical displays, the Vroxian vessels continued their advance, now less than 10 minutes from optimal firing range. They're not responding to hails, Reyes reported. Liu nodded grimly. Implement Phase 2 of Aegis. Throughout the sector, previously concealed human vessels decloaked, revealing a defensive force that had been hiding in plain sight. Unlike the makeshift fleet that had gathered at Sigma-12, these ships were clearly military in design, sleek, purpose-built warships with advanced shielding and weapon systems. More shocking to the observing Council species was the presence of vessels bearing markings from other civilizations. Pirates, mercenaries, and representatives from unaligned worlds who had secretly allied themselves with humanity. Earth, it seemed, had been building a coalition beyond the Council's awareness. As these forces took position between the Vroxian fleet and Sigma-12, Liu broadcast again, this time addressing Lysera directly. "Counselor Lysera, your fleet is now outgunned and outmaneuvered. Earth has no wish to demonstrate our military capabilities through force. Return to the Council and express your concerns through diplomatic channels. This is your final warning." Aboard the Vroxian flagship, Lysera watched the deployment of Earth's previously hidden forces with mounting fury. Her scales had darkened to the deep purple of battle rage, and her claws dug into the arms of her command chair. "They're bluffing," she snarled to her fleet commander. "Those ships can't possibly match our firepower. The humans rely on deception and misdirection. It's time someone called their bluff." The commander, a veteran of dozens of conflicts, seemed less certain. "Counselor, our scanners can't penetrate their defensive screens. We have no way to assess their true capabilities." "Then we'll discover them in combat," Lysera declared. "Prepare to fire on my command." Before the order could be given, the flagship's communication system activated without authorization. The central display showed not Ambassador Liu, but High Counselor Thren Dok, their energy fields pulsing with barely contained fury. "Counselor Lysera, you are hereby ordered to stand down immediately." The High Counselor's resonant voice filled the bridge. "Your actions have not been authorized by the Council and constitute a direct violation of our founding charter." Lysera's scales flickered with defiance. "The Council debates while humans seize control of our infrastructure. Someone must act to preserve our way of life." "By starting an interstellar war?" Thren Dok demanded. "A war we have no certainty of winning. The Council has voted." "Counselor, 17 members have approved opening formal diplomatic relations with Earth as an equal partner. Your military adventure is not only unauthorized, it is now in direct contravention of Council policy." Lysera's scales paled in shock. 17, that's more than half the Council. When did this happen? "While you were preparing your fleet," Thren Dok replied. "Ambassador Liu's broadcast of your actions forced an immediate vote. The outcome was decisive." On the tactical displays surrounding Lysera's command chair, new developments unfolded. Additional vessels were arriving in the sector, ships bearing the markings of other Council species, taking position alongside Earth's defensive line. "What is this?" she demanded. "The implementation of the Council's decision," Thren Dok explained. "Those vessels represent member species who have already signed provisional alliance agreements with Earth. They stand ready to defend our new partner against unauthorized aggression." Lysera's scales shifted through a rainbow of emotions: rage, disbelief, betrayal, and finally, resignation. Her carefully constructed power base had evaporated in the space of hours. Half the Council now stood with the humans, presenting a united front that her fleet could not hope to overcome. "Stand down, Counselor," Thren Dok said, their tone softening slightly. "Return to the Celestia V. There is still a place for you in the new arrangement being negotiated, if you accept the Council's decision." For a long moment, Lysera remained silent, her ancestral instincts warring with political reality. Finally, her scales settled into the blue-green of reluctant acceptance. "Fleet Command, stand down all weapons," she ordered. "Set course to return to the Celestia V." As the Vroxian vessels powered down their weapons and began to withdraw, a collective sigh of relief echoed through diplomatic channels across the sector. What could have been the first shots in a devastating galactic conflict had been averted, not through Earth's military might, but through the diplomatic web Liu had carefully woven around the Council. Aboard the Celestia V, in the now crowded Earth delegation chamber, Ambassador Liu watched the Vroxian retreat with measured satisfaction. Around her, representatives from 17 Council species had gathered to discuss the framework for a new galactic order. one in which Earth would play a central role. "You predicted this outcome precisely," Zorth remarked. His eye stalks curved in the Galactan expression of admiration. "How?" Liu smiled slightly. "We studied the Council for decades before making official contact. Your species are not so different from humans. You pursue self-interest, form alliances of convenience, and adapt to changing circumstances when necessary." "And the Dyson arrays?" asked Councillor Zivan. "Were they always part of your strategy?" "They were our insurance policy," Liu admitted. "A demonstration of capability that made military action against Earth too risky to contemplate. But our preferred outcome was always peaceful integration." As discussions continued, the shape of the new arrangement became clear. Earth would assume stewardship of 15 star clusters, including the vital quantum crystal deposits at Sigma-12. These territories would be governed by a joint council with equal representation from human and alien administrators. The Dyson arrays would remain under Earth's control, but would supply energy to council worlds at rates favorable enough to ensure cooperation. Human symbiont technology would be shared through carefully regulated exchange programs with safeguards to prevent misuse. Most significantly, the formerly rigid hierarchy of the Council, with founder species dominating all decision-making, would be replaced by a more representative system that gave voice to previously marginalized civilizations. The transformation was not without opposition. Lysera and her allies continued to advocate for stricter controls on human expansion, while some Earth factions pushed for more aggressive exploitation of their newfound leverage. But the framework held, supported by the majority who recognized that cooperation offered greater benefits than conflict. 3 months after the Emergency Council session, the formal treaty was signed aboard a newly constructed space station orbiting Sigma-12, now renamed Harmony Point, in recognition of its symbolic importance. The station's design incorporated elements from all 31 species now represented in the expanded council, including distinctive Earth aesthetics that had once been mocked as primitive. As the signing ceremony concluded, Ambassador Liu stood on an observation deck, gazing out at the transformed planetoid below. What had been a barren rock was now a vibrant world, its surface covered with engineered ecosystems that combined Earth vegetation with compatible alien species. Research facilities dotted the landscape, housing scientists from dozens of worlds working collaboratively on projects that would have been impossible under the old order. Dr. Patel joined her at the viewport, his expression thoughtful. "Not exactly how we planned it," he remarked. "Lysera's fleet forced our hand earlier than the timeline called for." Liu nodded. "But the outcome is what matters. Humanity has secured its place without firing a shot, and potentially saved the Council from its own stagnation in the process." "And the responsibility that comes with it?" Patel asked quietly. "Controlling half the galaxy's energy production confers enormous power. And commensurate duty," Liu agreed, "which is why the joint administration model is so important. We need their perspective as much as they need our innovation." As they spoke, the twin suns of the Harmony system began to set, casting the station in golden light. On the levels below, delegations from 31 worlds continued their discussions, forging connections that would shape galactic society for centuries to come. "They invited us as a joke," Liu mused, watching the diplomatic interactions with satisfaction. "And now we all stand at the threshold of a new era. The question remains," Patel said, his voice low, "whether we can truly forge unity through diversity, whether former rivals can build a peaceful future when bound by mutual need. And mutual respect," Liu added. "That's the key element the old council lacked. They saw differences as hierarchical, some species inherently superior to others. We see diversity as strength, each civilization contributing unique perspectives and capabilities." Below them, in the main concourse, Councillor Lysera could be seen engaged in intense discussion with Zorth III and representatives from several frontier worlds. Her scales still flickered with occasional frustration, but she had adapted to the new reality with the pragmatism of a political survivor. Even our strongest opponents are finding their place, Liu observed. Patel nodded. Though I doubt Lysera will ever fully trust humans. She doesn't need to trust us, Liu replied. She only needs to recognize that our interests are now aligned with hers. Trust may come later, with time and demonstration of good faith. As the last rays of the twin suns faded, the station's artificial lighting activated, creating a gentle glow that mimicked Earth's twilight. Throughout the structure, joint working groups continued their deliberations, addressing the countless details involved in integrating two previously separate spheres of influence. For humanity, the transition from galactic newcomer to major power had been achieved through careful planning, strategic patience, and the willingness to reveal strength only when necessary. For the Council species, the shock of human emergence had forced a re-evaluation of assumptions and hierarchies that had remained unchallenged for centuries. The result was neither human dominance nor alien subjugation, but a genuine partnership, one born from an attempt at humiliation that had backfired spectacularly. What began as a cosmic joke had evolved into something far more significant. A chance to build a galactic society that transcended the limitations of its individual members. As Ambassador Maya Liu turned from the viewport to rejoin the ongoing negotiations, she carried with her the weight of this responsibility and the hope that humanity's unexpected rise would ultimately benefit not just Earth, but all sentient beings who called the galaxy home. The cosmic joke had found its punchline, not in the laughter of supposed superiors, but in the creation of a future where such mockery no longer had a place. Earth controlled half the galaxy not through conquest, but through the power of underestimated potential finally realized. And in that realization lay the seeds of a transformation that would echo through the stars for generations to come.